What are we talking about tonight?
I think we're gonna roll it back to the 80s. You know, when we were young
and free,
yeah, full of life,
Mm-hmm.
Not a care.
I was in high school in the 80s. I was just like not living my best life in elementary school and in high school. Not my favorite.
No. Well, I was just a small child, so I was living my best life. Yeah.
Well, why don't we introduce ourselves? That's Ricki.
Yeah, and that's Raelene.
Hey. And this is Granny's Basement Podcast, and we're really happy you're here. And today is what? Talking about the 80s. Yeah. That's where we both grew up, with maybe a bit of a... Just wait, how could we both have grown up in the 80s if you're a decade behind me?
Well, I grew up in
math
the
isn't
80s.
Mathing. During the 80s, yes, but you were just a baby.
I was. Yeah.
What year were you born? Not that we want to out you, but what year were you born?
1982.
1980,
yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow's
1980. Tomorrow's your birthday? Woohoo!
No.
Well, let's get you
we need to celebrate.
Sparklers. I don't know.
Well,
everybody should celebrate their birthday. One more year, one more birthday.
Mm-hmm.
What would Granny have said? When you wake up on this side of the grass, you're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah. Or when you're really old, it's, well, I'm here, aren't I?
There you are. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
So what was your... So growing up in the 80s, you were a baby, but then when you got like a little older, tell me, what was your experience? What do you remember about that?
I actually remember a lot about the 80s. Even though I was young, I can actually tell you that I can remember the house that my mom and dad owned when I was 3. I can tell you what it looks like. And
really?
And the bar, like the hotel. I remember everything about it. Yeah.
Perhaps you should give our listeners some context for why you were in a bar when you were 3 years old.
Well, my granny and grandpa, my grandpa, he decided to uproot his whole family and move all the way to Saskatchewan to a small town. And they bought the hotel, restaurant, steak pit, all in one. Yeah. Hotel, motel, drink and stay. So, they bought that. And
so you were a toddler running around the hotel and bar.
I know. I think I felt so important, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I fully remember that as well. Now I was older and we'd get, dropped off there for our summer vacation or, a couple of weeks here. And we always loved being there because on Sundays, the bar would be closed. Mm-hmm. And so all us kids were allowed to go in there and play the video games, Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, and endless pop and chips. We could have whatever we wanted. We could play pool at the pool table.
Yeah.
I remember it being the first time I ever heard of the food or the word hoagie. Because Granny Carol would make hoagies, which are like a big submarine sandwich. Yeah. And the other thing is, I remember being really traumatized there once because Granny Carol was making... I called her Auntie Carol, but for the sake.
Yeah.
Was making... They were the kids, your aunts and uncles, my cousins, were joking about soy sauce being called pigeon's blood, and it was like, I really thought that's what it was. I thought for sure that's what it was. And the other cool thing I remember about that hotel was, do you remember, maybe it wasn't the same for you, but going up to the rooms of the hotel, we never were allowed to, but the 1 or 2 times we were able to go up when they were maybe cleaning the room or something, it felt like you were in this luxury. This is a small town hotel, but for us as kids, it was like off limits, right? So it felt like this luxury, amazing. And like, why couldn't we sleep up there? When we went to visit, it was like 20 of us kids all crammed in the little bedrooms in the family's part of the home. when they had all these beautiful rooms upstairs.
And the home part of it was so small. Like when I think back,
Mhm.
even I think it was about 2 years ago, we went back there and I went into the bar and I could not believe how small it was because I remember it being
Really?
huge. Of course, I was a
Me
kid.
too. Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Yeah, like a lot
Well,
happened
and
there.
like, yeah, I remember so many good times there. And I mean, it was your granny and Con. They were just so your granny and grandpa were just so welcoming,
Mhm.
and we've talked about that on other episodes. Like people just in that they were just so
Yeah.
welcoming to everybody, and that was always really really nice.